Welcome back to the GSL Code A. I am Wolf. I'm not Will. Not yet. What's going on? I'm like, anyways, here with Darth Vader, we are going to go into the next match. Shine versus Fantasy. You guys can see the maps. I'm going to put them up on screen for you guys here.
Yeah, it's going to be a great series. We have a Terran versus Zerg, and this is the same matchup that Fantasy already played in his first round when he was defeating Zenyo. Shine, on the other hand, he had to deal with the Protoss player. He took out Huck with a 2-0. No chance for Huck whatsoever. Shine with a quick and merciful victory.
Yeah. I got a question for you. When did Whirlwind become Whirlwind with a capital W? I've noticed that suddenly all the Whirlwinds have changed to this. I could have sworn it was always all lowercase.
I don't even know. I'm not quite sure.
You know, that's just a mystery that we'll probably never be able to solve.
Yeah, I guess we could ask production later, but I'm not quite sure if they know either. Anyways, Whirlwind is going to be our starting map, as Wolf just pointed out. Daybreaker, Neo, Plandas as the follower. Fantasy has shown a very strong performance against Zenyo. Not to take anything away from Team Liquid player, but Fantasy really played on a different level, and it's going to be quite exciting to see if Shine can take down the Terran player from SK Telecom. We're going to head into the match and I'm going to find out. Whirlwind is a big map, and let's see what exactly Fantasy has planned here. This is the GSL Code A, of course. Talon Wolf. And starting to the bottom right, we have now our Zerg player. He's not the MVP, Shine. No, this guy is starting for
Samsung Khan Shine.
Yep. Samsung Khan. This guy, get a shot of him. There he is. Leaning back.
Taking it easy, and he's up against a strong opponent. Starting to the top right, we have for SK Telecom. It is
SK Telecom T1 Fantasy.
Fantasy recently had a very long dry spot in a Pro League. He was 0-8. But now he turned things around. He won against Terminator.
He was just wearing a name tag there. That looks so tacky. Did you see that?
No.
He just had a name tag on.
Where?
On his shirt. It was a bit weird. I was looking at that and I was like...
they're probably from his mom so that he knows which clothes are his.
Yeah, I was like, well, Fantasy looks like a little bit different today. Maybe he just got back from flipping burgers at like McDonald's. Now he's coming over here.
Did you have that name tags when you were a kid in school? Your mom always putting them into the clothes when you had like gymnastics or whatever? So
nah, I never had this, but I would always have. My mother would put my initials on the tag inside of the shirt.
But that's the same thing.
Well, I mean, kind of. I don't mean. I'm talking about like a nameplate. I guess is what I mean.
I know what you were talking about when you mentioned Fantasy, but it's just like as a lead up.
Yeah. Okay. So in this case, yes. So, yeah. I mean, I suppose she was afraid the other boys were gonna take my socks when I went to the gym and take them away from me, and those were my socks all along.
It was always a little bit embarrassing, but at the same time, it was so useful. I used to forget my clothes all the time.
No, you're right.
I'm not talking about my pants or anything, guys, but just like the sweaters.
Yeah, I was leaving some underwear in certain places and you weren't ever sure what was mine.
Okay, change of topic right now.
I'm talking about
it's fine.
I'm talking about long johns,
it's fine.
man. I'm talking about, you know, something you would wear like leggings, for example.
Don't want to go down this road, Wolf. Opening with a pool for the Zerg player. How exciting.
Yeah, pool. He's got gas, though, and a lot of it.
Yeah, he's got gas, and yeah, jokes aside, the gas is actually pretty cool. We have a much earlier gas from Shine that you would usually expect, especially on a map like this.
And this is a much earlier, I mean, this is just really weird. I was going to say this is a much earlier gas than you would expect from Fantasy, but it's only one gas, and that's why I got tricked by it. But it's actually just pretty normal. He's going to probably go into a faster third CC with Hellions. Yeah, I had to guess.
He sees the gas, though, and Fantasy got really a bit lucky with his scout here. This is a 4-player map. Usually the problem is that when you head out, you have a tough time finding your opponent's starting position, but Fantasy spotted it right away, knows about the gas early on, and this will give, of course, Shine a quick speed, and with his speed here, he will be able to deal with Hellion pressure. He can try to execute a little bit of aggression. Doesn't mind too much gas anymore, though. He pulled out completely. No, actually he has one drone left.
One drone left. But that doesn't mean he's not going to put Roach Aggression on. he could still go for it, just getting a few more drones out first. Speed is going to be very useful against Hellions, but it also is the finishing move of a Zerg player who can go for an all-in. On this map, you need speed if you're going to try to do an all-in, because without it, you're going to take way too long to get across the map. And we have that fast third CC that I expected from Fantasy.
Yeah. Also, we have the bunker now on the low ground, which is exactly where you want to have the bunker, exactly at the ramp, so that you later on can just defend the ramp. You can make sure that even if a Zerg is running up, you just lift your supply depots, then he's stuck on the ramp, still in range of the bunker. The bunker is also covering the SCVs at the mineral line. So this is like the perfect position, and something that Terran players have been figuring out a long time ago.
Yeah, it's true, and I like this. It's just something that really bugs out the AI of the Lings. They can't really do anything. It's kind of like the Nexus cannon in Heart of the Swarm. You know, if you just use that, the Lings aren't really going to be able to do anything unless they hold position or try to target. It's really difficult to fight against that. 3 gas is going down for Shine, who starts his lair. I think we're going to see Mutas for the safe bet.
6:30 in this game. So this is a pretty early lair take. Usually even, yeah.
I mean, we could see investors, but I'm feeling Mutas, especially at these positions.
Not a lot of defensive units though, just now getting those Zerglings out, and he's gonna need them. He knows of course about the Hellions. He has a good overload spread on the map. The Hellions need to make sure that those the Zerglings need to make sure that those Hellions are not gonna do too much.
Yeah, and the first 2 are always the easiest to deal with. When it becomes 4, that's when you have to be a little bit concerned. Then the 6, that's the moment where you might need a Spine Core or an Evolution Chamber helping you out. Double eBay is going up for Fantasy. He's playing really greedy this game. He's going fast third CC, going into Hellions with not a lot of defense set up, and the double eBays.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of production. He's really putting all his resources just in his refineries, in additional SCVs, in those CCs. But we have also a very greedy opening for Shine.
Yeah.
Both of them are really trying to be the next Dagobah Duck here.
Feels like it. The Spire,
they don't tip.
they don't. I not either, because I live in Korea. But
You at least tip cab drivers, right?
Well, I mean, if it's 11,600 won, I'll tell him he can keep the coins.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. Yeah. I didn't. When I went to Paris, it's a sad story. A lot of people are gonna hate me for this, but I was still in my Korea mode, and I didn't realize people tipped in Paris. And I took like 4 cab drives by paying exact change, and nobody said anything angry to me or was like, you American, you don't know what's going on or anything like that. No one was rude to me. I didn't realize it. Then I felt like the biggest insert bad word here that the world had ever known. It felt really bad. Look at that. Nice changeling snipe.
That's fine. In Europe, we are usually really tolerant towards Americans.
Yeah, I actually feel that way. I felt very welcome.
We talked about this actually in Paris, and you were like, why do I have to tip now? I have to think about how much? This is way too complicated.
It's way too complicated, man. And the thing is, you tip in America as well, but it's just a little bit different.
Look at the timing here for the Mutalisks. Usually the Mutalisks are in your opponent's base at the 11-minute mark. With how Shine played this, they could be there a little bit faster, but Fantasy is preparing with the first missile turret now. He is still a very strong economy. He's actually on par with his opponent's work account, which is kind of crazy in this matchup. In supply, Fantasy is at 88, and we could really see in the last games, especially against Zinio, how strong his macro game has become. It's a lot stronger than in the first matches that we observed in StarCraft 2 of him. These days, he's just... this guy, it feels like he doesn't make mistakes anymore.
Yeah, he's really excellent. He's improved so much. He's improving almost faster than anyone else, I would say. I expect him to dominate this series, but we'll see what Shine has up his sleeve. With Mutas, he's already been scouted. Stim is out very quickly, but even with Stim, the Mutas have too much mobility. He's going to need to make more turrets. This turret finishes just in time, but he needs more than just this turret. In fact, the Mutas could fight these Marines. He goes for the Armory first, now he will kill the Marines. And as soon as the rest of the Marines come into the main, which he's actually not even sending, see, he doesn't send the rest of the Marines on the main because he knows that if he does, then the Mutas are just going to go right back into his third.
And the Mutas are just bouncing between bases now, trying to find an opening here, and he doesn't even stop producing them. He's going for more Mutalisks, going for +1 attack. He also has Banelings now in the game, going for speed and burrow, so he can set up traps and try to bait the Marines in. This is something that we've seen Lenok do with the great success against Byung.
Leonok, the most successful Baneling trapper in the world, though sometimes it's really obvious. He still, I mean, it's like a Snickers bar in the middle of the forest. It's like, well, is there a trap under that? I don't know. But Leonok still is able to kill a lot of Marines with his style. Forcing a lot of stims here, by the way. He's going to pick off a siege tank. Gets out.
Nice.
Loses one Muta. I think? No?
No, he didn't lose it.
Yeah, he doesn't lose it. I thought he was going to lose it for sure.
Playing more heavy Mutalisk. This is a map where this style is really common, and you can dominate a Terran player at the beginning. But even though Fantasy lost a few units, Shine has to be quite careful. Nesty was playing on this map yesterday, and he had a crazy lead in the early game. It was insane to see how much money Nesty had banked up, but in the end, he lost. He lost the match and Alive took the game on Whirlwind. So right now, this is something that could happen to Shine too, and Fantasy is already in a much better position than Alive yesterday was against Nesty.
However, this is the elephant in the room right now. I think the music is gone again, and I had to mention it. It's driving me crazy. The music just disappeared again. All I can hear is nature and all these sounds. I want to hear this ambient sound in the background of the music while the Marines stem here and kill the tumors.
Kills the tumors,
and
but
he's
the
trapped now.
thing's coming in.
And the Mutas can clean up the medevacs. He can't lift. Oh, wow, this is domination by Shine so far, actually. He's going to catch those medevacs easily.
Yeah, but we have the 3 bases set up for Fantasy, and +2/+2 is going to finish very soon. He has to hold here first, though, and that's not going to be easy. There's so many Muralists. He still has 16, and he's moving in. The Banelings on the low ground chasing all those Marines away, and Fantasy is in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, this is the perfect ratio of disaster for Fantasy here, with just not enough units to defend. With those units, if he had pulled them back in the middle of the map, he would have been fine. Now he just barely has enough Marines to push these Mutas back, and there's a few siege tanks to help against the Banelings. But he is on the edge of a cliff right now, losing mining at his 3rd base, and the Mutas are going to target the SCVs here.
And Shine does once again not have enough hatcheries to just support his army with lava. He has the minerals, he has the gas, but he is missing a few injects. He's building another hatch now, and he desperately needs it. His production is a bit in trouble. Now he's finally able to get rid of all his resources, going into additional upgrades, and the Banelings. That's something that he doesn't really need additional lava for. But Fantasy has +2/+2 now, and this is going to help him a lot against these attacks.
Fantasy is so desperate here. He's repairing his medevacs at this moment in time because he lost so much of that healing. He's facing just an onslaught of Zerglings here. This could be the end if Fantasy does not split well against these Banelings, and so far there's no split. No pickup either, but he can't with these Mutas.
He loses most of them. The army supply is still 43 against 53, though. I actually think that Fantasy will be able to hold here.
The upgrades are really helping him out quite significantly now.
You know, he still has this 3-base economy, and he's going into +3/+3, whereas we see for Shine just now the Infestation Pit. So his Hive tech is... well, it's going to take a long time for him to get Hive and then start his upgrades.
He's trying to drone up. He just made 18 Harvesters at once, and that's going to be partially put into maybe some drop defense because he's going up to 90 drones with this. That's quite a bit. Yeah, starts some spines and gets the extractors at his 4th. There's double turrets here. Not enough players doing the double turret like this. It makes it so that the Mutas really have to think hard about what they do. Yeah, obviously he can burst that down with this many Mutas, but he's not going to be able to do much else. Maybe killing 3 Harvesters more beyond that. Could have been devastating with only 1.
In general, or like just in total, I really like that Fantasy is holding strong here. He's lost a lot. He lost a lot of Harvesters, and he has a tough time securing this 3rd base, but he is far from being out of this game. With the upgrade advantage that he has, those attacks are becoming even more difficult to pull off for Shine than before, and with +3/+3 already started, this is going to get very, very ugly. A Terran player with maxed out Marines can do a lot of damage if he splits well. This is exactly what Fantasy has to do right now. He has to show good micro.
Yep. And he, so far, has shown it. Look at that. Pulls the SCVs away, uses the Marines to target down the Banelings. That could have been disastrous, but it was actually perfect for him. He loses almost nothing. The only thing he had to do was stem, and he's going to get those hit points back with 8 medevacs on the map.
And here comes the drop at the bottom right, and he does a lot of damage. He takes down all of these Zerglings, takes down the Queen. The Lings of Shine are not really in position, and now one of those extractors are going to die. He's going to be limited in his gas income.
Fantasy is moving out on the middle of the map. This is keeping him a little bit occupied. The Marines now in a position where the Zerglings can't trade against him very well. They don't have +2 yet.
It's like the best position possible for Fantasy here. Now he's moving into his opponents. main bases going into the natural and the third base. And +3/+3, not done just yet, but
so many
soon.
tanks. 5 tanks out here with 53 Marines to support, 11 at a time being cranked out, and he's about to have 3-3. These Banelings are going to have a problem. He needs to get some bungles on these Marines.
He gets one bundle off, here come the Banelings, the siege checks, he's targeting them down, manual targeting, and look at Fantasy taking a really good trade here. Shine still able to clean this up, but he lost a lot of army.
Yeah, but Fantasy's going to lose even more than that because he lost so many of these Marines. But, you know, this is, like you said, still a good trade for him. You know, he loses more and more units, but he's had his economy at such a high level with the upgrades.
The big problem for Fantasy just was that +3/+3 was not done. I feel with those upgrades, if he would have waited a little bit longer with his fight, he could have pushed Shine into submission. Because Shine is still ahead in overall supply, but he lost his bank a long time ago, and he is now way down in upgrades. Just now started +3/+3, and if Fantasy is able to get in before those upgrades are done, Shine is in trouble.
Losing those siege tanks is the big problem for Fantasy because he's building a composition. Wait till you hear that.
No. Oh yeah, the music started.
This is not a good place for those Banelings to be. He does pick off a drop that's full, but the Banelings are a little bit out of position. That was nicely done. Whoa!
That was close.
Yeah, so now he's going to trap these Lings. And Shine takes a bad engagement here with 4 upgrades. And Fantasy is going to go for the continued aggression. He's got more units rallying out. He still has a weak siege tank count, but it's getting stronger.
Shine had a lead in the early game, but Fantasy was looking at the match and he said to himself, you know what, it's not over until the fat lady sings. And now suddenly the music is playing again. So Shine has to really watch out because Fantasy is on the move.
Fantasy gets hit with the Baneling bomb there. Does not lose as much as you might expect, though, as it hit those siege tanks a little bit more than it hit the Marines. There's a lot of Baneling mines on the map that Shine has been using, and this has actually not been as good as it could have been, but still is going to be annoying.
In army supply they are even, and those infestors go far to the front. They could die here, but the bundles are good. The Banelings using the opportunity to take down a lot of these bioforces. A 50 supply, a 40 supply lead for Shine. Going into Broodlords, and this is the one thing that Fantasy is really ready for.
Shine just lost all of his Mutas flying them over Marines. He only has 1 left on the map now, and this has lost him the ability to pick off siege tanks and to shut down drops. And whenever you're a Terran player who watches Mutas blow up over your Marines, that's when you decide to start going for drops because you know that your opponent, yeah, he can spam his Lings back, you can 1A them back into the main, but as soon as he does that, that's when you just pick up and run away and you can come back again. If there's no Mutas to finish the drops off, you just don't care. He's going for a double drop. Here come those Lings. He can trade against the Lings now and then get out. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He could go for the Greater Spire, but I think there's too many Lings.
His position is just so much better at the point where he currently fights.
And he's still at 3-3 against 2-2, and now he can target the Greater Spire and he'll get it.
There's not even a transfuse attempt.
Nope, no Queen nearby.
This is great position here for Fantasy. Here comes the bundle, but he does a lot of damage to his opponent. Yeah. We have not a lot of Vikings, and this is one of those maps where we occasionally see a Terran player trying to pull it off with Marines alone. The big question is just how many Infestors do you have? And currently there are 8 Infestors out, 5 Broodlords. Not as many as a Zerg player would want.
Yeah, and Fantasy is losing units like this against Infestors, and we lost the Marines in the main after killing the Greater Spire. We could have gotten out. Little things like this make it a lot harder to fight against the Broodlords that are already there, as you mentioned.
As we see this drop, there's actually a small move that players could do, which is really hard to pull off. If you select the medivac while he's healing and then just press S continuously, it will always start to heal the Marine that is the weakest, has the least hit points, and with an attempt like that you can actually save a lot more Marines when there's a double bundle.
Yep, that's a really good tip for newer Terran players.
It's actually, it's really hard to pull this off, so in a situation like this, you could have done it, but it takes a lot of micro.
Yeah, you have to be there. You can't be doing anything else at the same time.
Exactly. But just in case that you guys didn't know, the medivac usually targets always the Marine that is the weakest, has the least hit points.
When it starts, there's a trap and he detonates it. Fantasy is losing too many units like this to actually finish Shine off, and as a result, Shine has been able to keep his Infestor count growing. He's down back up to 9. He's going up to 12 here with the 3 additional ones he has. He's got Ultras. He could bungle and kill these SCVs, and that's exactly what he does. He has to be careful of the planetary. The medivacs are actually saving these initially here. And this basically feels like a Marine drop.
That was a nice game though. Taking down 3 Infestors, I'd take that trade.
Yep. 10 Mutas on the way. He's actually making a switch here because he knows his opponent's switching it into the Marauders to deal with the Ultras, and he also wants to be able to shut down drops.
He wants to make sure that those 14 medivacs are being killed. But I still feel that Mutalisks are a little bit weird at this point.
Not this many, you know. I would have liked to see maybe 6 or something like that, but 10, that's a lot.
He can't go into Broodlords right now, but there are so many Marines out there, and the Marines have sick upgrades. I'm not quite sure what he's going to use them for.
I think he's only going to be able to use them for drop defense.
But 10 Mutalisks only for drop defense? Well, I guess we're going to find out what he wants to do with them. But for now, we have this drop at the bottom left. This base is not going to survive, but top right, now the Broodlord's doing damage.
Yeah.
Here we have the Marines.
The Marines, he made a bunch of spines here, but they were not finished.
The Zerglings actually are here.
Zerglings are there, and the Mutas could come and help clean up that drop. I don't know where the Mutas are hanging out right now.
Fantasy just lost his 4th base, and this is really bad for him.
The Mutas could help him clean up Vikings over cliffs like this when there's not a lot of Vikings out. And I suppose that's something you wanted to maybe think about doing. We're just still not seeing him use the Mutas at all. Meanwhile, the base in the middle of the map is cleared up by Fantasy, who's got a massive force movement across. Now you guys can see it.
Shine is getting bases everywhere, and he still has a really significant supply lead in this game. 60 supply ahead of Fantasy, who's trying to move in, and he has Marauders. He can deal with those Ultralisks. I'm still not sure if those Mutalisks will really help him out a lot, but
not really, I don't think.
The thing is, he has also Broodlords. He has just so much. The composition in general is so spread out that it's hard to prepare for it.
Yeah, and the Broodlord's coming from this angle. If he'd come in just a little bit faster, he would have been able to crush his army. He may yet do it.
I actually feel that this is going to be the end of Fantasy.
Excellent bungles, and Fantasy just does not have enough. Even the Mutas can come and clean up the drops.
The Mutalisks need to take down the dropships, but they are the first victim in this fight. All of them are gone except for one. Yeah. And also the last Mutalisk dies. That was a sad story, but still. The supply is just... Look at this supply, look at the minimap, look at all those bases that we have.
Yeah, he just made a hatchery at every expansion to the top left once he started losing the ones on the right side of the map, because he knew that if Fantasy attacks these bases to the top left, then he's going to lose too much in doing so. And Shine now doubling his supply nearly. Well, now he does, and even goes further beyond double. Is making 5 more Infestors, more Ultras. He has +1 Carapace for his Broods. He has a 2nd Spire finishing up. Raven's coming out for Fantasy because he knows that's the only way maybe he can win an engagement with really good Seeker Missiles. This is something we've seen desperate Terran players do since the Seeker Missile change.
The position for Shine is one where he should not be able to lose this game anymore. We said the same about ST, but I feel this time it's actually true.
Yeah.
Fantasy is just falling farther behind this game, and without a 4th base, he's nearly mined out at his 3rd. He doesn't have a lot of income. Shine is building up a bank in addition to the maxed out army that he already has those extra bases. The Zerg player is in a position where it's pretty sure that he's going to take the lead in this best of 3.
Yeah. I mean, that one Corruptor says, get out of here to that Command Center. Command Center's going to defiantly go on top of the Corruptor's box and then land. But, I mean, yeah, he has his Command Center landed, but is that going to get him back in this game? He has no money, no mining. Those mules he just dropped are the only mining he has in this entire map. He is literally out of every single other mineral patch he could mine from. He's using this army like a surgical knife, trying to pick off bases around the map and avoid the Infestors, but eventually he's going to get caught.
Yeah. Greater Spire is now on its way. A lot of spine crawlers are being built to make sure that this drop force cannot take down base after base.
Oh, and every single SCV of Fantasy gets bungled on the right side of the map. Every single one.
The right side of the map, the base is currently completely being destroyed. There we go with all those infested Terrans. The SCVs have already been bungled. And here comes the attack against the Orbital and the GG.
He went from about 50 SCVs to 14 in 2 seconds. And that was too much for him. He could not rebuild his army. A good attempt by Fantasy while behind to re-enter the game, but Shine played a great game. All different types of compositions going into Whirlwind. That's how you play Whirlwind these days. You go Broodlords, you go Ultras, and you go Infestors all at once with very little Corruptors, it seems like most people are going these days.
Shine played it well here. He definitely played to the strengths of the map at Fantasy, even after establishing a 3rd base. Was looking good for a long time, but then without the 4th base, it was just too much for him to handle. He lost a lot of units in the middle of the map, also against the Baneling bombs that Shine depositioned on the map. So very well played by the Zerg player, taking a lead in the best of 3. Fantasy, on the other hand, he has to win it now on map number 2, which is going to be Daybreak.
Daybreak is a map that plays into the late game usually, if you're not a Terran player, ends up with a timing attack with Hellions and Marauders, or just a big attack with Siege Tanks. We have seen Zergs go for big baneling attacks at the third as well, but usually we go late game, which Shine has, pun intended in this case, shined in the past.
Yeah. Well, going into the game, we're going to find out what exactly Shine is going to pull off. We are on map number 2, Daybreak with the GSL Korea, Carl and Wolf.